Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Ethereum. Where are we now? If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Remember, if you want to know how I'm navigating these markets, check out the sale on the premium list. You can find a link to that in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So where are we now? Ethereum has been on one hell of a journey over these last several months, and we discussed the implications of a relatively calm summer based on historical data. So far it seems like that's more or less what we're getting. We're not really putting in new all-time highs. We had a pretty significant pullback the week of May 10th, and then the week of May 17th we have moved back up a little bit since then. But what I would say with Ethereum is that my understanding of where the market is right now is that we need some time before we can just resume crazy bull mode. Okay, we need some time. And I say that being a huge Ethereum bull. I mean, you guys watched me on the channel. We watched it go from $80 to $4,400. And my guess is that it will not, it's going to take us more than just a couple weeks or something to get to a new all-time high. But what's interesting to me, is the Ether Bitcoin valuation, okay? Now, this is holding up relatively well considering the circumstances. Now, if we had continued our journey that we were on with the Ether Bitcoin valuation, and we just sort of draw a line through the data there, by this point, we would have already been, at around 0.1. Okay, so clearly the market has cooled off some. This move here has been put on pause, at least temporarily speaking, okay? So Ether USD is one thing, right? Ether USD is one thing. Ether Bitcoin is another. And while for Ether to get to a new all-time high against the US dollar, it would need to go up a modest 55%. Okay, this is why I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow or anything like that. Against Bitcoin, it only needs to go up a humble 13% or so. Okay, who gets out of bed for 13% these days? I sure as hell don't. But the point is to say that considering where Bitcoin is in its journey right now, if we switch over to the weekly time frame, considering that Bitcoin is in fact below its 20-week SMA or the 21-week EMA, whatever you prefer, considering it's below, Ether's holding up really well so far. Okay, it's holding up really well so far. Now, some people are probably already on the line with Forbes trying to schedule their interview. But again, I wouldn't schedule it just yet. We still have a ways to go with Bitcoin before I would imagine Ethereum could really start to get bullish, okay? Historically speaking, Ethereum will more or less just be playing in the sandbox until Bitcoin can get back above its 20-week moving average and hold it as support. Now, that doesn't mean that Ethereum can't go back to 3K, doesn't mean it can't go back to $3,500 or maybe even $4,000. I just simply, I'm doubtful of the ability for Ethereum to put a new all-time high against the US dollar if Bitcoin remains in a downtrend, okay? Now, you might say, well, Bitcoin's in an uptrend. If you look at the hourly time frame, okay, fine, Bitcoin is in an uptrend, but who cares about hourly time frames? If you look at the daily time frame, it's still in a downtrend. It really is just still in a downtrend, and we need to decisively break this downtrend at some point, move back above the 20-week SMA, which is here, and then come back down and hold it as support. And only then do I think Ethereum, has a chance to push to higher levels beyond where we're currently, or beyond the prior all-time high. So Ethereum is holding up relatively well against Bitcoin. I will applaud it. I think it's doing remarkably well, and I still have a ton of my Ethereum, and I really would like to see it do well. I just also want people to temper their expectations while Bitcoin is below its 20-week SMA. This is all I think that's the main thing that I think we need to take to the bank somewhat, is just that temper your expectations until we get above it. Now, if Bitcoin gets a relief rally, okay, so I've gotten some people say, hey, we just got a relief rally to like 38K. It's not a relief rally, my friend. I mean, if we get a relief rally back up to, say, the 20-week SMA or something way up here, close to 50K, this would very likely take Ethereum above 3K, maybe 3,500 or something. So if we get a relief rally, it doesn't necessarily mean we're out of the woods. Remember, it all comes back to Bitcoin remaining relatively bullish. We know that when Bitcoin had that capitulation week, the dominance for Bitcoin went up really quickly. So remember that. If that happens again, the dominance can go up quickly again. So we'll look at some other ones too. I mean, if you look at the monthly, it's a pretty interesting candle here. The range of this candle on the monthly was 156% from the bottom of the wick to the top of the wick. Or if you take it from the top of the wick down to the bottom, this was about a 61% drop. And we've always speculated that Ethereum could see and would likely see 60% drops throughout the market cycle. Remember, if you go look at our bull market support band for Ethereum, if history was any indication, we expected drops back down to the 20-week SMA at the very least. And note that last cycle, we actually went below it at one point for a few months. So we don't even necessarily need to hold it permanently. Okay, there could be times where we go below it. If we do go below it, it would probably represent a crazy opportunity. But right now, we speculated that, hey, you can get 60% corrections even in a bull market. And here's a 50-something% correction from the top of this wick down to here. This was about a 67% correction from here to here. It was about a 63% correction or so. So we know that corrections are possible, and you've experienced one now. You've experienced what we said you could easily experience. Look at this correction. This was 60%. So there you have it. You have a 60% correction. Where did it go? It went to the 20-week SMA. This is our bull market support band. This is what we talk about. So right now, Ethereum is showing strength in the fact that it's holding support on the 20-week SMA, whereas Bitcoin fell below its bull market support band. Now, you might say, well, this is really great, and I think it is. I mean, I think this is really, really good for Ethereum so far. My only contention is if this doesn't come back up and get back above and hold it as support and continue higher, and it does something like this where it comes back down, it's going to be hard for Ethereum to hold that. Okay, so that's why I think we're still in a phase of the cycle where it is important to be extremely cautious because of where Bitcoin is. And remember, we showed the data that showed that the average ROI for Ethereum, 90-day ROI, in June, July, and August tends to be about 1. That doesn't mean that every cycle it's going to be 1. Sometimes it's more than 1, sometimes it's less than 1. But that means that if the price of Ethereum right now is $2,800, then there's a good chance that 3 months from now that the price is $2,800. That doesn't mean it can't go back to 4K and then come back down. It doesn't mean it can't go down and then come back up. But it just means that on average, the 90-day ROI of Ethereum in June, July, and August tends to be around 1. So that's why I don't think that we're imminently going to have a rally to 10K. I think that the market needs some time to cool off and either chop sideways for a little bit, consolidate, whatever you want to call it. The market needs time to cool off before I think we'll have enough momentum to sustainably carry us to higher levels. So just bear with me. Summertime for Ethereum tends to be the lull in the market. So far, Ether Bitcoin's doing relatively well. I think we just need to keep an eye on whether Bitcoin can get back above these levels, back above the 20-week SMA, right here, or if the journey continues down. And if it continues down, then rest assured it will likely pull Ethereum with it. If we look at the 3-month chart, it looks like, by the way, this is a pretty interesting candle pattern right here. But if you look at the 3-month chart, we had this one. So this represented here a shift. You can see this type of candle. That's why I want people to be relatively cautious here and not assume we're out of the woods yet. I mean, it could be that we get a momentum shift on the monthly time frame, and I think that's ultimately going to be dependent on what Bitcoin does. If Bitcoin gets back above the 20-week and continues on, then yeah, I think we can carry up. If not, and Bitcoin continues to show signs of weakness over the next few months, then there's a good chance that this will be a momentum shift, and then we're going to have to grind for a while before we can continue back up. If you look at 3-month candles, they look a little bit better. This one was 70%, 60%, 105%, 160%, and 45%. So far, this one will end at about 28 days. And then if we go back to the monthly, actually, I want to go back and look at the 2-month, because this one was an interesting one. Yeah, this one looks really interesting, because we had 90, 91, 93, and then 95%. And then from the open, we actually went up a decent amount to about 57%, 58%. But so far, we pulled really far back. So you can see this looks like a pretty funny candle, because it opened at 27.76, and we're right now at 27.78. And these are 2-month candles, meaning this one opened about a little over a month ago. Hopefully that gives you guys a general idea of where we are, my thoughts on the market. Relatively cautious right now, considering Bitcoin's below the 20-week SMA. So I would not necessarily assume that Ethereum is going to imminently put in a new all-time high. I mean, I think that's fairly obvious. If you just look at the chart, you can see that we're still around 57, 58% away from a new all-time high. So I think patience ultimately is what's going to pay off in this cycle. There's going to be times in the cycle where the valuation goes down. Obviously, there's going to be times where it goes up and sideways. I think patience will be rewarded over the long haul. And remember, I mean, this could drag on for a lot longer than people think. I do think this cycle could last longer than a lot of people may otherwise think it will. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let's go for 450,000 subscribers. Give the video a thumbs up. Also, check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Remember, if you want to know how I'm navigating these markets, check out the premium list. You can find a link to the sale in the description below. You'll get access to the risk dashboard, the Into the Cryptoverse alerts channel on Telegram, the weekly videos, reports, the Telegram chat room, the risk dashboard, and more. Make sure you guys check it out. And if you guys want to Into the Cryptoverse t-shirt, like What's a Few Trillion Among Friends, check out the store in the description below. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe, click the bell icon to turn on your notifications, and I'll see you next time. Bye.